So, welcome to Tamara TV. Woo! Today we're talking with Tania and Angelis. We were just talking about how to pronounce her name, and I just wanted to do it credit because it's so beautiful. And the way that I met Tania is through a Female Entrepreneurs Association, isn't it? And back then, you were the go-to person for tapping. And then you started offering courses for tapping for abundance and money. And everyone would tag you when there's anything brought up. They're like, oh, she's your girl. And I remember last year when I was getting my course out, I just had all these blocks. And I was like, oh, I don't need to get it out there. And I thought, well, what's standing in my way? It's a lot of fear and stuff that's trapped inside. So I reached out to you and you were so kind and we went over Skype and you helped me release stuff. And I was crying. It was such an amazing process. And your ability to hold space and actually tune in too and know exactly how to shift it and release it. And it went to my childhood and all this stuff of not wanting to be seen or heard or anything, which is ridiculous because we all have amazing stuff to share, don't we? And I'm so grateful that we connected and you were able to help me move through that. But the exciting bit is you have shifted from even there, and I've watched you and you put out this new thing. And you're basically having to start from scratch with your audience. And this takes so much courage, but it is so you, and this is why you're here. And in a minute, I'm going to have you share your story because it's beautiful. And I just want to show, oh, I'm getting chills right now. I just want to show and share with everyone listening to just listen and be inspired, and hopefully you'll pick up something that resonates with you or it'll spark something within you. Just listen to Tania's amazing story, okay? All right, over to you, girlfriend.
Well, thank you so much, Tamara. I am so appreciative of this opportunity. So, as Tamara says, my name is Tania Angelis. And I was just telling Tamara the story about my surname and how it came to be. I'm an angel teacher. I have been for a very long time. However, it's only in the last 3 months or so that I've actually come out in public, come out of the spiritual closet, so to speak, and actually shared that with other people. I have actually been working as a spiritual teacher for the best part of 20 years as I have done my own private journey. And back in 2011, 2012, I went through a really, really difficult time in my life. It's what they often call a spiritual breakthrough or the dark night of the soul, except mine lasted nearly 2 years rather than a night. But at that time in my life, everything that I knew and that I associated myself with fell away. So my husband left me. I lost my home. I lost my business. I ended up in tens of thousands of pounds of debt. I found a new job, which worked out okay for a while, and then my boss turned on me, so I had to leave, and then I ended up having to sue them. So I ended up going through a massive legal process with that. Alongside that, the last of my children had left home, so I had empty nest. So it was me rattling around this great big old house, which the mortgage company were wanting to take back. So there was all of this massive changes going on. And I was delighted. There was a few really lovely things that happened that time. My daughter got married, which was wonderful. So I was able to give her away. And I won my case against my old boss, which was doubly delicious because he was very misogynistic. And he hated to lose. So he lost to a woman. So it was kind of like, the ultimate bit of justice. But that catapulted me into my worst ever experience with depression, which is something that I've been dogged with since my early teens. But through the process of coming through all of this, the thing that kept me going the most was the work that I was doing with my angels. They kept me going all the way through this whole thing. And so when my husband walked out on me, I was then left to what should I do about my name? Because I was using his name, which I had never liked in the first place. And so I asked my angels what it should be. And straight away And so they broke it down. They said, angel is, and I just went, oh, thank you. So, so from that moment, I have begun to embody what being an angel is, or what an earth angel is. What somebody here living in our world will do as working as an angel. And so I have, over the last few years, I have really been on a really intense spiritual and healing journey. And through that journey, I have been able to be a beacon and a guide to other women who are also going through that transformation process. So we all of us transform at different times, but as we go through the transformation process, what we're always looking for is someone who's a little bit ahead of us, because that gives, you will always find people who are way in front of you, either financially or spiritually or health-wise or whatever it is that you're looking to transform in your life. It can be quite difficult to find someone who is only, say, 3 or 4 steps ahead of you. And so that is what the role is that I have been playing over the last few years, is to be the person who is 3 or 4 steps ahead of the people behind me, because it's much more relatable then for people, because when somebody, for example, has broken through to complete financial freedom, complete spiritual freedom, and is sitting there in their power, it's wonderful to learn from them. They have so much to teach, but at the same time, when you are just emerging from those dark moments, they just seem like almost like they're on another planet, and so there just seems to be this huge gap between where you are and where they are that seems almost unbridgeable. So the role that I've been given is to help women who are transforming and who are going through that process, so that they too, in their turn, as I teach them, they then start teaching other women too. So it becomes a way of unfolding, not just for me, but for all those who follow, and for those who follow those who follow me. So it has this massive ripple effect that goes out, because for every woman who lights up to who she truly is, there is a massive ripple effect. It affects the children that they bring up. It affects her parents. It goes up the generations as well. It goes across through her friendship network. It goes through her professional network. So other women start to see that it's possible to transform, that there are concrete steps that they can take to actually bring about the changes that they want. And that's what, that's part of the work that I'm here to do, is to actually say, right, well, if you want to achieve X, then you need to take steps A, B, and C in this order, and that's what will then get you to E, F, G, and that will take you all the way through to X. So that is my role in life, is to help people to put together the steps that they need to get through what seems to be an almost unbridgeable place. So I know it now, as I'm going through quite an intense process at the moment. I am very much being put into the spotlight, as Tamara has said, and as she's noticed. Because although I've worked with angels one-on-one for well over 12 years and have been following my spiritual path for the best part of 20 years, for most of that time, very, very few people actually knew that I was doing that work. And so it's only been in the last 3 to 6 months that I've really stepped out and into my power. And I think it's taken quite a few people by surprise. It's certainly taken me by surprise. But what I've discovered is that the more I'm open about it, the more my life has opened in so many ways that I wasn't expecting. So it's been a wonderful blossoming, a wonderful transition. I am now in the process of manifesting myself a new home, which is wonderful, because the home I'm in has served me well, but it's not where I'm meant to be. So I'm in the process of manifesting myself a new home. I'm in the process of opening up my ability to earn even more money by simply being accepting of who I am and allowing other people to see me in my glory, rather than trying to fit into what I thought people wanted from me. And it's something that we are brought up not necessarily consciously. There's very few people who sit you down and go, right, well, what you've got to do for the rest of your life is try and fit in with what everyone else wants. You must stuff down your own needs, and you must do this and you must do that. It's much more subtle than that. We simply watch what other women around us do, starting from our mothers and our grandmothers, and any other, and other women around us. So we start watching what they do, how they behave, and we mirror that behavior because, as children, you don't know anything else. So I spent many years, I thought it was much more acceptable for me to become a business coach. My background was my early working background was as office manager, administrator. Then I ended up with my own bookkeeping practice because my then partner was a chartered accountant and trained me in bookkeeping. So I thought it kind of made a logical, to move away from that, the logical place to go was to be a business coach. And so I learned lots and lots about the online world and all about, I got my coaching qualifications and so on, because coaching is something that comes quite naturally to me. But I never really got anywhere. It was like, it was like being on one of those little pedalos, that you go by the seaside and you can pedal along all right, but you don't really go anywhere, And so I kept trying different things. And then I started finding I remembered a healing modality that I'd learned. It was when I did my Reiki. So it must have been back in 2002, something like that. And that healing modality was tapping, or emotional freedom technique. And I started working with it privately. And I did it for about 8 months of really intense daily, multiple times daily, working with my tapping to clear myself of any limitations and any blocks that I was having. And I found the process to be so empowering and so powerful that I wanted to be able to help other people with it. And I particularly focused my tapping around my financial blocks. Many people who work with angels or who work spiritually and holistically, we so struggle with the concept of money. It's something that is it's something that is unique to this environment here on this world. And so, because many of us who work spiritually holistically, we have a very strong connection to where we truly come from. And so money can be a very alien concept, and we struggle with it. We really do. So for me, it was one of the areas that had caused me the most pain. And as I say, when I went through my big breakdown and breakthrough, I ended up I had to declare bankruptcy before I had my big breakdown a few years before. So it just kept tumbling down and down and down, and I just could not seem to shift it. But by working with my tapping, things started to open up, things that came through that I wasn't aware of, memories around my childhood, because I don't really consciously remember much around my childhood, but the tapping would bring back memories of things that I'd heard, that I'd overheard, that I'd experienced, so that they could come up finally, these buried emotions, and they could be acknowledged and they could be set free. And as I set all of these emotions free, so it allowed me to become free, and it allowed the real me to come out. So as I've done this, it's cleared my mind, it's cleared my heart, it's clearing my body at the moment. I do have a health challenge that I'm working with, which is an overactive thyroid gland, which is actually an autoimmune disease. And I found that to be so interesting because an autoimmune disease is where the body fights itself, where our own immune system thinks that the cells within our body are attacking it. And so as I went into the spiritual truth of that, I was like, oh, so what my body is reflecting back to me is that in my mind, there is a massive war going on in my mind. And if I wish to stop physical reaction, because although I take medication, the medication can only treat the symptoms. It cannot and will not treat the actual autoimmune response. There is no way to we do not have at this time medical ability to counteract autoimmune diseases. So the only way to counteract an autoimmune disease is to go to the source. And the source is always in here. What's going on in here is simply mirrored by what's going on in your body. So as I have cleared and worked with my angels and gone through some intense healing processes, so it's enabling my body to go back into balance, and it's enabling me to express myself in ways that I never would have done. I find myself able to speak up for myself in times when I would previously have said nothing. In all the political turmoil we've had over the last 12 months, both here in the UK and over in the US, I've actually found myself publicly commenting on things which I would never have dreamed. I would have said them to myself and I would have yelled them at my computer. I would never have put fingers to keyboard and said anything. But as I cleared and cleansed and healed, I felt able to say that. And I knew that was a big turning point for me, because it's again, small, simple things like that, of actually daring to show that you have an opinion on something is, for many women, that's a real challenge, to actually admit that if you have an opinion that may be different to other people, or that may be different to your family members, or that, so it takes courage to be able to do that. And it's only through the work I've done on myself, with the help of my angels, with the help of the people around me, that have enabled me to actually have the courage to do all of this. And I know that as I stand in my truth, whatever that truth may be, that enables other women to do the same. And so I have these wonderful conversations with my clients where one of my clients posted a video in our group recently, and many years ago she trained as a professional singer, and right at the very end of her training, she completely lost her confidence. Her singing tutor, as she was doing her masters, they did not get on, and she found that the tutor systematically undermined her confidence in her singing ability, and so she left her singing behind, and she hasn't sung in over 10 years. And she posted a little video the other day where she'd done one of the meditations that I was guided to record, and as she was doing the meditation, she found herself singing in the meditation, and then she recorded her voice for the first time doing scales, and she shared that recording with us in the group. Well, I mean, I got tears listening to that, and that, that for me is one of the things that makes the journey that I've been on so worthwhile. When you see one woman finally having the courage, because I know the reason that she's been able to find her voice again is that she is being called herself to step up and inspire other women. She's actually starting to do public speaking, which is something that she's battled with, but that she's finding opportunities to actually start talking to other women and literally standing up on stage and sharing her. So she's literally being encouraged through the work that I've done and through her working with me to literally find her voice again. And that to me is just like, this is because she's got a young daughter, and she will be able to pass on this wisdom and this confidence to her daughter. And that's what I so love about working with women, is that, when you don't just work with a woman, you work with her community and with her family, and it just goes through the generations, so every woman that stands up in her power empowers other women, because, unfortunately, with there being such a strong patriarchal structure, women have, while we've made huge, I mean, my grandmother wouldn't recognize the world that I live in now. I barely recognize it. If I look, even over the course of my lifetime, this world has changed beyond belief. Once upon a time, there was no internet, the young people today is kind of like, whoa, yeah, and, there was a maximum of 4 channels on the telly, and you had to even get up and press a switch to change the channel.
Yeah, true.
And as we stand in our power, so young women get thought to compete with the boys. And competition isn't a naturally feminine energy. Yes, there are warrior women, but women don't naturally compete. And so we've kind of taken on a lot of the masculine energy simply to try and keep our heads above water. So for every woman who is able to step back from that masculinity and embrace her femininity and embrace the true power of who she is, she gives every other woman she knows permission to do the same. She will also scare the heck out of quite a few of them as well, but there'll be a few who will go, I want what she's got, as they said, can I have what she's having?
Yeah.
And that's what I love about the work that I'm inspired to do, is it frees women from their own fears, and in doing that, it frees their children, and thereby we will have new generations coming up who are unencumbered by the history of the past, and who are able to, for young girls who are able to stand in their power, younger and younger age, they don't have to wait until they're in their menopause years before being able to stand up and be proud of who they are. They can be proud of who they are when they are in their teens, when they're in their early 20s, when they're in their 30s or 40s. So, we have the ability now to help the next generation coming up. I've got twin granddaughters, and it's wonderful to watch my daughter with her daughters being so supportive of them and bringing them up in such a loving environment, because part of that is through a promise I made to myself when I was 13. Sadly, when I was growing up, my mum and we had a very, very difficult relationship. And my mum also had a terribly difficult relationship with her mother. And when I go back through the generations, my grandmother had a terrible relationship with her mother and son. So through our family, going back quite a few generations, mother and daughter strife was very, very common. And I made a promise to myself in my early teens that if I ever had a daughter, that she and I would get on really well, that we would be friends as well as mother and daughter. And I'm happy to say that promise I made to myself has come true. My daughter and I are wonderful friends, and it's been an absolute pleasure to be her mum, and to now see her being a mum herself and being able to help her through that is wonderful. And that is the work that I do. It's about empowering women to be who they are without being afraid of who it is that they are, because we are taught to be afraid of our power. It's the only way that patriarchy is able to survive is by subjugating the women.
And that's a whole nother subject, isn't it? That would take another thing.
And it also relies on the cooperation of the women. And so when the women stop cooperating, the men get very freaked out.
And actually, I wanted to ask you about that. I mean, thank you so much for sharing your story, because I found quite a few little nuggets in there, that will hopefully have someone think about something in a different way or spark them to do something in a different way. But what I wanted to talk about was, I felt, and I've seen in lots of other groups, is this rising up of women, of owning that power and trying to find their way to do that. They're not satisfied anymore, and they're wanting to speak up. And it's nice to see that you've been seeing that also, and in your work that you've been helping to do that. And it's such, when you were talking about, your face was so lit up, there's almost tears. It is such a beautiful thing to see these women wake up and step into that, isn't it?
Absolutely. And it's an absolute blessing to be part of that, to see another woman and say, even going back to our session, to see you coming and when you realize, oh my word, this has been holding me back, and this has been holding me back. And then by the end of our session, you were just lit up, you were just like, oh my word, this is who I am. This is, I have left that behind, and I can set, because, that session that we did, we would not be sitting here now having this conversation, because that enables you to actually move forward and to then go and get your course out there and and you've started changing other women's lives, and that's what the whole thing's about. It's that ripple effect.
Yeah.
Women are naturally very, very good at building other people up, and when we get together and we build other women up, then we create this unstoppable network of women that will, that we're already changing the face of how business is done. We're starting to change the face of how parliaments are run. We're starting to make inroads into areas that traditionally were no-go areas for women. And we, while there may be, some areas may be slower than others, the fact is that doors have already started opening, that there's more and more women who are not prepared to take no for an answer, who will just keep on, who will just say, it doesn't matter how many times you knock me down, I'm going to get back up and I am going to carry on,
Yeah.
There's been times in my life when I've said, you know what, I can't do anymore. I give up. I absolutely give up. And so I kind of, put everything to one side and just say, right, that's it. And then half an hour later, I'm like, okay, right, what should we do now? Okay, right, that's the next step.
Yeah.
So, it's something, once you've started the awakening process for yourself, you can't stop it.
You can't.
And when you start awakening other women, you can't stop that process either. So, we are going through a time of massive shift, where there's been huge astrological changes around we've seen some incredible planetary alignments which come along, maybe every 300 or 400 years that will happen. We've had, sort of certain different, so we've had sort of like, different, the moon cycles have been different. We've been getting a lot more solar eclipses. And there's just this massive change of energy in our world. We can feel this huge outpouring of energy coming through from the spiritual realms that are just, people are awakening who you thought were asleep. I've been contacted by friends of mine who I went to school with, and who I would never have in a million years thought they would have even thought about anything spiritual. And they've messaged me through either, through videos that I've done, or they've sent me private messages and so on. And there's part of me thinking, I would never have thought, I would never have put that person plus spirituality together in a million years. So this awakening process that we're all going through,
And wait, Tania, I just wanted to stop you there because some of the listeners might not understand what awakening means.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay.
An awakening process is where people start becoming aware, and there's this real feeling of discomfort. For me, the awakening process actually began when I was about 12 or 13, when I started becoming aware that there's more to life than meets the eye. I could just feel that there was this something that there was something there that I couldn't quite grasp, and I didn't quite know what it was. So I started looking for what it was, and so I kind of reached out into churches and things like that, but I just couldn't find it. I spent many years looking for it, and then eventually, through not giving up on the awakening, I found myself. I read an article in the newspaper about the Goddess Conference, which had just taken place in Glastonbury, which was a celebration of the divine feminine. And I knew immediately that I had to be there the next year, because it just finished, so I had to be there the next year. So in those days, this was before internet, so you had to, write off, and you had to sort of, send letters in the post and things, and so the information came. And so I found myself, just on a year later, I walked into a room, and I realized I'd finally found my tribe. It was like, these people think like I do. Oh my God, they've got the same values. They I was like, oh, thank goodness for that. I'm not as weird as I thought I was. There's other people who are equally weird. This is ace. And so an awakening is simply that feeling, that tugging feeling that there is something I'm here to do. I don't know what it is, but there's something I'm here to do. So it's that kind of tugging, and more people are feeling that. We are seeing people leaving the corporate world in droves because what they were brought up to believe, you go to school, you get your grades, you work hard, you get your job, and then you get your mortgage, and then you get this, and then you get that, and that is what life is all about. And people are waking up in their sort of, they're waking up one morning going, this is not what life is about. They look round at this, house that they're in and the job that they're doing, and they're thinking, this isn't right. And that's what an awakening is. And we're seeing more and more people feeling that response. We are at a time when books are being published by their tens of thousands now, because we now have the option to self-publish. Where once upon a time getting a book published was a massive project. Now we can, you can always get it done in a weekend. You can pour your heart out into this book, and then you can go onto somewhere like Amazon and you can self-publish it. So more and more information is coming out there. People are starting to realize that, that the corporate 9 to 5 is not the only way to actually be. It's not the only way to earn a living. It's not the only way it's not the only reward at the end of your school grades and so on. So people are starting to really shift and change their focus. And we are also now starting to get a lot of people who are moving into owning and running their own business. And although their motive is to make is to make profit, what they start their business off out is they start with the purpose of wanting to make a difference to people. So that's when we get the likes of companies like Innocent coming up, where they wanted to make a difference. They wanted to do something. They wanted to make smoothies. And they started off their business at a big music festival, and they had the little stands, and they said, we want you to have these smoothies, and if you think we should try and turn this into a business, put your cup in this bin, and if you think we should go back to our day job, put your cup in that bin. And then the cup that says, turn this into a business, it was just overflowing. And so they knew then that they were onto something.
Nice.
And so they knew that there was a market for them, because they had that, they had that research there straight away. And they wanted to only work with fresh fruit and veg. They did not want to put, any chemicals or anything into it. So they started off that whole business on the premise of wanting to do something different and to make a difference in people's lives. And so we're getting more and more businesses like that, So we get companies that grow as big as Innocent, which is now on every supermarket shelf, to people like you and I, just us and our laptops and our mobile phones. And we can now work anywhere. So so you're working at home, I'm working at home. If I wanted to, I could get on a jet plane with my laptop and find myself a Wi-Fi connection in some far-flung part of the world, and I would still be able to carry on working. And we have so many more options available to us now. And this is what I mean by an awakening. People are becoming aware that they can let these things go. They don't have to follow in their parents' footsteps. They can make their own
I love
path.
that.
And then so particularly for women, particularly when women become mothers, it is so difficult to work and to bring up a family together, which is why so many women go into self-employment and creating their own small business, because it gives them so many more options. They're still earning an income, but they are also able to make that income work flexibly around their family, instead of trying to make the family fit around the job, or having to pass their children on to someone else to effectively bring up while they work. So we've got so many more options available to us, and that's what people are feeling, is that I want to do what feels right for me, and I'm not going to listen to anyone else's version of what is right for me. And so women are waking up to the fact that they can say no, and they can say, no, that's not, that doesn't work for me. This isn't right. I can hear this voice inside of me that says, I want to do it this way, because I know that will work. And, there'll be, I've had it so many times, your instincts, and, you're tuning into your guidance, and it says, do this. and the people around you going, that's crazy, you know, you shouldn't be doing that. I mean, when I sort of look back over the last sort of 6 or 7 years, I started out as, you know, as a straight business coach. Then I went into helping people with their money difficulties, help people with depression and so on. And then I've sort of kind of gone full circle. And now I'm just an out and out angel teacher. That is what I'm focusing on. You know, so I've created an academy for that. And I'm getting a whole new tribe. As you said, I'm getting a whole new tribe of women coming to me who are looking to, you know, to work with angels themselves, who are looking for ways of growing that aren't reliant on, you know, on reading a book, or, you know, or they're wanting to really tune into that part of themselves, that the, you know, the what some people call the higher self, or the instinct, or your intuition. They're wanting to really be able to listen to that and follow that. Because they know that on the times when they have relied on their instincts, it's never let them down. And then they fall back to, oh, but I was taught to ignore my instincts. I was taught to logic and reason it.
Yeah.
And logic and reason are great if you want to organize things. But if you want to go somewhere, logic and reason will never get you there. You know, they will give you can create the steps, but the direction, that can only be determined by you listening in to your intuition. So
if they wanted to find out more about that, where can they?
So my Angel Academy, the best place to find that is on my website, which is taniaangelis.com, and there will be a link. And so there's a link on the front page, which is to the Angel Shaman Academy. Or there will be in a few days. My full website is looking a little bit poorly at the moment. I'm in the process of redoing it. Otherwise, you are very welcome to come and find me on Facebook. I'm on Facebook as Tania Angelis, the Angel Shaman. You can find me on there. So do come and find me on there. That'd be another great way of being in touch.
Great. And one more question.
Sure.
And I'm sure we all know this, is what lights you up?
What lights me up? Oh, gosh. What lights me up is it's feeling that intuition, feeling a flash of intuition, following it, and then seeing the amazing results that come from it, either for me personally or for the women that I'm guided to work with. So, for example, I was given the opportunity to learn how to channel angels. My angel taught me how to do this. So, in the same way that if you ever listen to Esther Hicks when she channels Abraham, you know, she just says, right, well, just bear with me while Abraham will come through. Well, I do the same with angels as well. And you know, if you'd have said to me 5 years ago, oh, you'll be able to channel angels, I'll have said no chance. But I followed the steps that I've been given. Because the other thing that you will find is that as you follow and listen to your intuition, you will only ever be shown the very next step to take. You won't be shown the entire, you know, they say you'll only ever, you know, you only see the next step, you never see the entire staircase. And it's absolutely true. And until you've taken that step, you will not go any further forward. So you can try and sidestep it if you wish, and you'll just find yourself circling back and where you were. And so once you've actually you know, done that bit. So for me, I was asked for a long time to be an angel teacher, and I circled away from it, and I became a business coach, and then I did EFT tapping, and then I did this, and then I did, and then when I actually said, okay, hi, I'm Tania, and I'm an angel teacher, then things started shifting, and the steps have come through thick and fast, and daily I'm showing new things to do, and things have just expanded exponentially. So for a long time, and so if you've been ignoring this feeling inside that you should be doing a particular thing, whatever it is, and you've shied away from it, then there's no shame in that at all, because we all do it. It's scary, you know, but at the same time, although I kind of, if you like, sidestepped it, the things that I learned along the way, I've been able to apply immediately to the work that I've done. I haven't had to kind of learn my work and then try and learn how to market it, or then try and learn how to put it all together, or then try and figure out how to gather a community together. Because in the work I've done previously, I've learned how to gather a new community. I've learned how to create online content. I've learned so all of the things that I've done while avoiding being an angel teacher have now come. Now that I've said that this is who I am, it's just like bam, bam, bam. There it is. Whoa, okay, so there's my website, and there's the content, and there's the first video, and there's the first audio, and there's this, and there's that. And in the space of about 2 weeks, it was there. And I didn't have to spend years and years figuring it out. I spent years and years skirting around it. And then when I finally said, okay, I'm an angel teacher, then everything just flows from there.
I want to say thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your heart and finally accepting yourself and all your glory, because now you're on the right path. So thank you so much for talking with me and sharing this with everyone.
You're very welcome, Tamara. I have loved every minute of it, and hopefully we will get to talk to each other again soon.
Yeah.
So look after you, everybody, and have a wonderful day, whatever you're doing. And remember, your angels are always with you, always listening, always guiding. Take care, everyone. See you soon. Bye.